I'm Duncan McLeod, and this is TCS Plus, brought to you by TechCentral. You can subscribe online at youtube.com/TechCentral or get our daily newsletter at techcentral.co.za/newsletter. Now, Mark Nasila, am I pronouncing that correctly, Mark?
Yes, correctly.
Mark Nasila, Dr. and Professor Mark Nasila, I believe, is Chief Data and Analytics Officer at FNB Risk, the risk division of FNB. And Mark is an expert on all things artificial intelligence. It's a bit of a passion of yours, Mark. It's really great to see you. Thanks for making the time. Thanks for coming into the studio.
Thank you so much for having me, Duncan.
Pleasure. Now, Mark, you've got a PhD in mathematical statistics, is that right?
Yes.
What does that entail exactly?
It entails understanding the theory of statistics and applying them in real-world problems. Mm-hmm. I did my PhD in Nelson Mandela University.
Okay.
It was around understanding how statistical models can help predict rare events. But I focused on applying them to financial crimes, actually, in the banking space. Financial crime? Yes.
Okay, that must have been fascinating.
Yeah, it was amazing. Financial crimes are so complex.
Yeah.
But they have other complexities from the fact that operationally they cost organizations a lot of resources to manage. And through these algorithms, we came up with ways which we can create efficiencies, allow organizations to focus on where the crime is, mm-hmm. other than use a blanket approach. This was way back in 2013, 2014.
Okay, yes. Okay, fascinating. What is your background? What did you initially set out to study, and what were your career aspirations when you were a youngster, and how did you end up in your current role?
I actually wanted to pursue a career in computer science.
Okay.
But I was very passionate about numbers and the impact numbers could have in real life. Mm-hmm. And I decided to pursue a career in mathematical statistics, did an honors mm-hmm. In mathematical statistics at Nelson Mandela, then a master's. Then when I joined the bank in 2010, mm-hmm. Big data and analytics was something that was getting hype, and you could see it was going to be an area that will reimagine a lot of organizations. I decided to pursue a PhD in mathematical statistics, and that everything else is history.
Right.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
So tell me about your day job at FNB. You are, what is your title again? Chief Data and Analytics Officer of FNB Risk. What does your day-to-day work entail exactly?
So I'm responsible for making sure FNB leverages data, mm-hmm. analytics, and capabilities such as AI to making sure we're managing risks effectively, mm-hmm. efficiently, and proactively. In a bigger scope, I'm responsible for making sure that we have a plan in place for data to play a role in informing our risk strategy.
Right.
On a day-to-day basis, I have to engage with our stakeholders to understand their needs, because the strategy I run underpins their objectives. Mm-hmm. Understand their short-term needs, their long-term needs. But I also have to understand what is success to them, the role data has to play. I have to engage with them continuously to manage their expectations mm-hmm. on what data can do, what data cannot do, its limitations, as well as have long-term plans on how data will keep on transforming the risk function. Mm-hmm. In addition to that, I spend a lot of time managing a team of about 70 data scientists, professionals in the IT space as well, data architects, who form part of this value chain. It's a big workshop mm-hmm. Which requires us to leverage a variety of skills. And last but not least, spearheading the AI work in the bank, running the AI literacy program, and helping the organization understand AI, understand its limitations, so that we can identify the right opportunities to keep modernizing our platforms.
Okay. So when did your interest in artificial intelligence first begin? Why did you become interested in the topic?
I attended a session at Singularity University. Mm-hmm. And at that time, we had started actually implementing some of the machine learning algorithms.
Inside FNB?
Inside FNB. And through Singularity, friends of mine, Mick Mann and Shane Mann, who co-own the Singularity South Africa division.
Okay.
Invited me based on the interest in the topic to attend one of the forums, and I ended up attending the executive program at Singularity, and this actually accelerated us to start adopting AI in the risk space because of its possibilities. I ended up going to San Francisco through the Singularity program, spent a lot of time visiting companies.
In fact, you completed the executive program at Singularity University, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Yes, yes. And I learned a lot, got a lot of exposure interacting with the likes of Peter Diamandis, Ray Carswell at the Singularity Summit.
Ray Carswell, yes.
Yes. And we went to the Singularity Innovation Lab, visited companies like Clara Foods, who are engineering plant-based foods, Tesla, and it was more about learning how to think differently, how to think in this disruptive world, and how to position emerging technologies such as AI as a strategic enabler to help a business realize its objectives.
Let's get this conversation going on AI. There's a lot of ground to cover, and I think it would be useful, given that this is still a fairly nascent area, to get back to brass tacks and maybe start our discussion with a definition of what AI is, because I think there's a lot of confusion out there. I have seen reports suggesting that what we're seeing at the moment through generative AI applications like ChatGPT, for example, isn't really true AI. Maybe a view from you on that, but let's start with brass tacks. What is AI? How do you determine this fairly vague term?
So AI is an area in computer science that deals with enabling machines, processes, or systems simulate human intelligence. This could be generating language, translating language, identifying objects, making decisions. And basically that's AI. But I think when we talk about AI, we cannot forget about machine learning and a deep learning.
What's the difference between AI and ML?
Machine learning focuses more about enabling machines to learn from data and make decisions with less supervision.
Okay.
But where AI comes in is where there is much more simulation of tasks that will require brain capacity or human intelligence, reasoning, and allowing technologies to automate these functions without human intervention. Yes.
So humans are. It sounds like humans are quite key to this whole thing, which perhaps is a little ironic, given that this is artificial intelligence and we're meant to be programming these systems to think on their own. Are humans always going to be involved, or is there come a point where these artificial intelligences are able to advance themselves?
The world is changing at a very fast rate, so volatile, things are changing. And we're seeing these emerging technologies have meant that there is what we call the digital expectation. Today's organizations cannot survive the way they used to before. They need to leverage the same technologies to keep up with customer experience. But more than ever, organizations need us as humans to focus on human things, to keep up with emerging issues, to be more compassionate around the services and products we offer. And therefore, humans will always be in the loop to drive discovery and the future, and to even continue maturing these machines. Yes.
And to keep them in check if necessary.
Exactly. Because technology needs supervision, it needs direction, it needs guidance so that it can keep on being relevant and appropriate. Yes.
Now, the elevator pitch. You believe that all organizations in South Africa and worldwide, for that matter, should be taking AI very seriously, that they should have a strategy around AI. In a few words, why should the CEO of a pharmaceutical company or a bank care about AI? What does it mean for their business?
So AI is reimagining every industry. When you look at projections from McKinsey, PwC, we expect by 2030, 16 trillion worth of value to be created from AI.
$16 trillion?
$6 trillion worth of value. This will come from the ability of organizations to leverage AI to create efficiencies, to drive effectiveness, to enable their employees become more productive, to drive innovations that we couldn't do before, to keep up with challenges that we're seeing. But this is not going to happen easily. In fact, what we're seeing in the market, organizations are failing more as more of them keep on investing. Forbes just published that only 14.6% of organizations have evidence that they have an AI in production, at least one AI in production.
Okay.
This is alarming. And a major reason for that is a lack of a strategy, a strategy that outlines a vision of how an organization is going to leverage AI to realize its objectives. AI strategies are not easy because they come with a lot of complexities. They leverage data, they leverage human resources, technologies, as well as identifying the right opportunities, including bringing people along so that you can transform the whole organization. Yes.
Interesting times, but it is quite early days. And as I said, this is fairly nascent technology still. How seriously should companies be taking AI today? You're in the financial services space. I imagine that there is a more pressing need perhaps to look at these technologies than perhaps in some other industries. What's your view? If you're not in the tech space, and financial services are arguably tech companies these days, if you're not in that space, is this something that should be high on your agenda?
Organizations that do not impress and take AI seriously will not exist in the future.
Wow, that's quite a statement to make.
And the reason for that is that for a long time, organizations have created a value proposition around products and services that they offer.
Yeah.
And these products and services have been iterated through previous technologies. Like, for example, products and services have been offered through the internet, have been iterated through various applications. Today, the same financial products that you could get at the branch, you can get them on your application on your phone. What this technology is doing today, it's driving experience, it's democratizing access on a global perspective. So disruption is not just coming from organizations who are in the same industry, but it's coming from across the world. The same customers can access services from non-traditional industries, and we've seen a lot of newcomers, unicorns come and offer services at a cheaper rate, meet customer needs faster, make less mistakes, understand their needs. And they are leveraging AI. And that's why it's important to take AI seriously, make sure it's at the top of the agenda. Make sure you build trust around it so that you can succeed faster.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Mark, maybe give us some practical examples of where this is all going for consumers who interface with a bank like FNB or any company out there that has deployed AI models within their organizations. What is it actually going to mean practically to you as a consumer of products and services from an organization that's deployed AI technologies?
Thanks. If you look at the banking sector, we talk about experience. And experience means having context in understanding customers' needs when they call in. An example at FNB, we have a lot of data about our customers. And by being proactive in predicting their needs, we are able to offer them the right products, the right time, and make sure they're available on the digital channels. If you go on the FNB app today, you'll see that they're normally products that are recommended. Algorithms are never 100% accurate,
Sure.
but they do give us an opportunity to position the right products and services to our customers. And that's an example of how data and algorithms are helping us, provide experience and make sure that these things are available. Then let's look at, for example, risk management. Process of risk management sometimes can be tedious and it can be inconveniencing. For example, think about the KYC process remediation. Traditionally, organizations used to use a blanket approach. In today's world, we have algorithms that allow us to focus on where the risk lies. In FNB, we've got risk-based models that provide us a sweet spot of where the issue is so that our due diligence teams can deal with those customers. In addition to that, the assessment process is very consistent because AI is helping gather a lot of data, aggregate information, write reports the way a human being would have done. This allows us to have consistency and accuracy in the way we make decisions. Consistency and accuracy is an experience because you do not want to inconvenience customers, bothering them, asking them for their source of income or validating the information when you're on holiday unnecessarily because you used a traditional approach. Then digital engagement is another area. Today's customers are tech savvy. You want to get your responses immediately. And natural language models are enabling organizations today actually power chatbots so that you can provide immediate responses to their queries, understand their queries accurately, and even recommend to them solutions that will align to their needs. And these are some of the examples of where AI and machine learning are help reimagine how organizations are, offering their value proposition.
It could be both a good thing and a bad thing. Just thinking off the top of my head as you're talking here, because already I'm frustrated with companies I work with that already make it difficult to talk to a human being. These interactive voice response systems. You spend a lot of time trying to get the information you need, and it almost seems like these systems are designed to prevent you from getting through to a human being to have a conversation. And I know why that's done. It's to reduce costs and to not to overload the call center with spurious stuff, etc. But is there a risk in embracing AI and advanced technologies like this that we are going to remove the human element entirely, and that when customers have to have an interaction with an organization, that they're going to be talking first and foremost to some sort of AI, and it's going to be increasingly difficult to get a problem resolved through a human being because of the cost involved in doing that? Your thoughts on that particular topic?
So I think if an organization is investing in AI so that it can take away humans and cut costs, then it's actually misunderstanding the role of AI.
Okay.
We've positioned AI to allow people to focus on human things and to automate functions that need to be automated. And the example you gave today, you just gave around, there's certain tasks AI cannot perform. If you're to automate, you have to automate utility functions that are very simplistic. If you think about a call center, there's certain needs AI cannot solve for. So that's why we always have a human in the loop. The way we set up these experiments is such a way that we got confidence, ability to understand the limitations of what AI can do, and when we get to that level, things are channeled to the person so that they can get more context. Some of the needs we have are new. AI never knew them before, and that's where the human comes in the loop.
Yeah.
So I think that's why we've actually vouched for literacy programs around AI, because organizations need to understand the limitations of AI so that they can put that as part of their change management process.
Yes. Okay. And I imagine as AI gets more intelligent and the data that's being fed into these systems becomes more useful to the AI, that it's going to be able to do useful things like, for example, making predictions about when people may look to be moving to another company, another bank, for example, or another telecommunications provider, because it can probably pick up patterns in that data that say, well, he's doing or she's doing this, and based on our knowledge of this, there's a high correlation between this activity and what happens here. Therefore, we think this customer is going to churn to someone else. We should phone them and make sure we keep them.
So companies have been doing that for a long time.
But can AI do much more in that regard?
It can do much more than that. Beyond just providing predictions, AI can provide context. You and I were talking about language models. Language models can put together a lot of insights, including root causes that can assist an organization understand context. I think the limitation about predictions is that it does not give you insight of what to do with the prediction. Today, if you're not feeling well and you go see a doctor, a diagnosis alone is not enough because you already know you're not well. But there has to be a prescriptive analysis to also help you get well. And that's where AI plays a similar role in helping organizations build context so that you can get decisions much more efficiently.
Now, there'll be executives in South African industry watching our discussion today, listening to our discussion in their car or wherever they happen to consume podcasts, and they'll be thinking, "Oh heck, I'm trying to deal with a terrible economy. I'm trying to deal with Eskom load shedding, and now you're telling me I have to have an AI strategy as well." For those who haven't gone down this path yet, and I'm sure there are many companies in South Africa that have been watching ChatGPT and stuff with some interest, but haven't really thought, well, that could be applied in my business, and they don't have an AI strategy. What advice would you give to them? What should those first conversations they have about AI be looking at? And what are some of the first building blocks that they should be putting in place once they have started to think about that strategy?
The first thing, I think they'll need to understand that the challenges we're facing today are challenges that are ripe for AI.
Okay.
They are non-traditional challenges. They come with complexity. And these are challenges that if you're not prepared well, they could actually take away your business or prevent you from meeting the needs of your customers. When you talk about a start, there's two things that form part of readiness of having an AI strategy. One, every organization has a strategy. In other words, a way which they aim to create value and fulfill their objectives. The second thing is they must understand AI, and that's why we're talking about literacy programs. For you to understand what AI can do for you, its limitations, or what it cannot do, it's important to understand what AI is so that you can align the right opportunities within your organizational strategy. As an example, at FNB, we knew very well AI has been a topic for a long time. We're a very complex business. It's very easy for us to get carried away and start talking technology and start jumping into data, and we can do a lot of fancy things. But if these things are not underpinning the organizational strategy, we're likely to spearhead wrong things and end up not benefiting the organization. So that's the first one. Making sure we understand how the organization creates value and understanding what AI is so that we identify these right opportunities. Then identifying the opportunities, because you cannot work on everything. Identifying them and prioritizing them is important, and understanding what are the implications for the customers and the business, both in short term and long term.
Do you need to hire an expert to do this? Or, I mean, a lot of CEOs will be coming to this and not knowing much about AI, maybe what they've read in the business press, but not really having a fundamental understanding of what it might be able to do for their businesses. Do companies need to hire an AI specialist at this juncture? Or is it something that the CIO could be doing, for example? Where does responsibility for AI sit within an organization?
So the responsibility of AI in the organization sits with everyone, but it's spearheaded with executives that have expertise in leveraging AI, just like any other area. CIOs drive strategies around technology, and we'll talk about that now. But you need to look at your skill set in the organization and understand, especially when you're beginning this strategy, you don't want to fail for long. You rather get external assistance to create a foundation and after that, be much more independent. I've always said, if you don't have expertise within, it's very difficult to start this journey. Get people from outside to assist you set up the AI shop.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But that the lack of skills, I mean, skills must be a real challenge in the space. We know that there's a shortage of skills generally in the IT space, and I think that's particularly magnified in some subsets of IT, including security and AI, machine learning, and data science, general data science type skills. How much of a problem, how much of a challenge is the lack of data science skills, particularly in the context of South Africa, in organizations wanting to develop strategies around this?
It's a big challenge. The demand for these skills is not just locally, but we're losing skills to America and China. Mm-hmm. If you look at why we're losing skills to those companies or those countries, a main reason, they're very mature.
They can pay more.
They can pay more. But for young people who want to apply their skills, those organizations have strategies.
Yeah.
China has built its AI value proposition around execution, and it's evidence from the platforms they've created. America is built around driving development of IPs and technologies that are helping everyone across the world spearhead adoption of AI. So young people see those regions as areas where they could apply their skills. And this is more reason why organizations must have strategies, because if you have a strategy, it outlines to young people where and how they will apply their skills. It's not an easy thing, because if you do not have a mature practice, you'll keep on having issues of attracting the right talent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do we need you mentioned China. Does South Africa need an AI strategy as a country?
Yes, China has an AI strategy. Canada has developed an AI strategy.
What does it need to say?
It needs to outline a vision of how AI will help us as a country fulfill our objectives.
Right.
Yes, and it needs to also articulate how we're going to measure success obtained from AI.
Right.
It also needs to articulate how our operating models as a country will change once you have AI maturing. Mm-hmm. This all forms part of a strategy, and I gave an example of our strategy of leveraging AI in the risk space at FNB. First and foremost, it's underpinning the risk strategy. It also articulates how we're measuring value based on the opportunities we identify that are right for AI. Mm-hmm. Then it articulates, the right technologies, change management, and how things will work and how they've changed over time as we continue maturing the function with the use of AI.
Let's just stay with the skills shortage just for a couple of moments longer. What is FNB doing in that regard in terms of developing not just literacy around AI, but developing those deep skills? And are you able to get, obviously they're expensive skills, but are you able to get the skills you need through some of the development programs that are run here in South Africa? Obviously the universities and technicons, but also some of the third-party commercial data science development courses that are offered here in South Africa. Are they producing the skills that FNB and the wider industry needs?
Yes, and that's a great question. FNB is driving a lot of collaboration with universities through bursary programs, spearheading research with postgraduate students around these topics. And also, we've got a very attractive graduate program, which means that we're playing a role in developing skills, young talent, providing them a platform where they can learn how to work, especially when they've applied skills, when they've acquired skills during their degrees. But then we also have programs that look at potential students who do not have university degrees, where we do job shadowing, allowing them to have opportunities to apply soft skills in the IT space. because we realize that we can still drive productivity and give them an opportunity to grow without necessarily following the higher institutional learning channel. Beyond that, we work with various organizations where we do give lectures and upskill students. In fact, we're exploring other opportunities with our public sector banking space, where we want to share some of our platforms and share the knowledge to the outside world to help empower the society, because we also realize we as a business exist because of society. So it is important to uplift society so that we can keep creating an ecosystem where we empower them and they utilize our products. So
is this FNB's AI literacy program you're talking about here?
Yes.
Okay. So that's beyond just FNB?
Yes.
It's for a broader... is this sort of fundamentals of AI that you're offering to the market, or is it... what sort of knowledge are you imparting through this program?
So within FNB, we're offering competencies that allow people to leverage AI as tools, interrogate them, understand their limitations, and understand opportunities. We also appreciate that for us to mature AI, we need frontline staff to be able to help us identify more opportunities where AI can help keep modernizing. And we've, through, for example, this series, we thought it's important to start sharing some of this knowledge through thought leadership pieces to help society understand what AI is, understand its limitations, understand where the world is going with AI, the building blocks like you asked. Those are important to help society prepare, because AI is not just modernizing, it's changing economies.
Yeah.
We are a very big organization servicing customers across the world, and if they are part of this journey, it means that we're also aiming to keep on meeting their needs going forward.
What about youngsters who are keen to get into this space and explore a career in data science and in AI? The skills you're looking for, typically, are they your traditional IT skills? Are you looking for... what are the type of people who fit in well in this sort of environment? I imagine an actuary could fit in well within an environment like this, exploiting AI tools to do actuarial work. But what sort of, if I'm a youngster and I'm looking out to set out on a career and maybe I've got some interest in IT, you clearly see AI as the future and having a massive impact globally in the next decade, and it being an incredibly exciting space. If I want to get into it, what should I be studying? What should I be doing?
So there's lots of opportunities and skills that we need to help mature AI. The ones you've just described are around the algorithms and data. So actuaries, statisticians, computer scientists, data scientists. But to make AI happen, you need project managers. You need business analysts. You need AI interpreters, people who understand what AI can do so that business can be helped on identify the right opportunities for them. We need culture transformers, people who can help transition a culture. We need IT specialists, data engineers. We need IT brokers or AI brokers to help offer AI as a product to help monetize value from it being used for various purposes. So there's lots of opportunities. I've always said, I think that the first thing is have someone assist you understand the world of AI before you make a decision. It's very easy to get caught up with actuarial work or statistics work, but that's just one piece of the puzzle. There's lots and lots of opportunities, there's lots of conferences, but also there's a lot of information online that provides information around a channel which someone should follow. Remember, you also need to follow a channel where you can be productive or where you have the ability to make a difference.
Before we wrap, I want to look at the big picture where this is going, and I'm looking forward to this part of the conversation. There's been a heck of a lot of hype in the last 6 months about AI, and I think it started with ChatGPT. It may have been before that, but I think it was ChatGPT that really grabbed the headlines into the second half of 2022, and it hasn't stopped since then. Every set of results from the big tech companies like Microsoft and Meta, etc., is all about AI and how it's going to transform their businesses and make them billions of dollars, and the share prices as a result are soaring just on the back of CEO comments that at some point in the future we're going to deploy AI. And of course, some companies are further ahead than others. There's a lot being said at the moment. A lot of it's around this generative large language models and generative AI, where you can produce text or images or music by providing inputs, largely, it seems, from online resources. There's been a lot of noise around AI. Are we all getting ahead of ourselves here? Is a lot of the stuff we're hearing at the moment hype? We hear about the Gartner hype curve, where there's this inflated part of the graph of inflated expectations, and then there's a collapse, and there's the trough of disillusionment that Gartner speaks about, and then eventually you see it taking off. Are we going to see a similar sort of curve, Gartner type curve, happening in the AI space? And are we, what we're seeing now, the first part of that slope that leads to that sort of hype and that subsequent collapse into the trough of disillusionment, and then eventually the productivity that flows from it? How is this going to unfold? Is it going to be a typical Gartner tech hype wave in that it's something that's going to take many years before we see the real business benefits flowing? Or is there real substance to the hype that we're seeing right now around AI and the headlines we're seeing in the press?
There's a mixture of trends happening in the market. The first one, maybe let me look at the optimistic side.
Okay.
I think we've come to appreciate the advancements of AI, especially language models. Language models are not new. They've been there since the 1950s. But I think from around 2016, 2017, the transformer models have meant that together with the computing power, we can train machines to generate language, and to generate language similar to the way human beings generate.
And it looks like magic.
Exactly. It looks like magic.
Yeah.
So that is the first thing. It means that businesses can relook at their models and assess where this type of technologies can help automate functions, drive effectiveness, keep up with their customer needs. On the other side, we're also seeing what we call the Dunning-Kruger effect play, where before technology matures and its impact matures, its value is a bit overstated, which is very, very normal. But as time goes on, society understands the possibilities of this technology within their organizations or within their functions, its limitations, what it can do, what it cannot do. Remember, when it comes to a technology like ChatGPT, you don't need to just look at its positive side. You need to look at the risks it comes with, the privacy.
Mainly reputational risks.
Reputational risks.
Yeah.
Once you have that holistic view, then you'll be able to assess the opportunities you have. So it's a combination of trends we're seeing. I think I read in one of the articles say now 56% of CEOs are now asking, we want to see value. This is even more important why you now need to have a strategy. Now that you have ChatGPT, you know its limitations. What does it mean for our value proposition? Because it's one thing to think about ChatGPT as a toy when it creates this amazing text, but yet it cannot be integrated into your business or operating model.
Which is where the strategy comes in.
Which is where the strategy comes in. You now need to think about a tool, because a tool now drives accountability, the type of value you'll get, the type of models you need to have. How do you need to upskill your workforce so that they they can integrate ChatGPT in the way they work. You need to think about ethical and responsible implications, because these technologies come with heavy risks. And when you're critical about it, the high value applications come with higher risks, because they normally entail confidential information, they normally entail sensitive information, they normally entail changing business models and coming up with new business models that if you fail, you're failing big. And so we have to be very careful, and that's why you need the right people to advise organizations on how to go about adopting this technology.
It's interesting what you say there, and I was actually going to ask you about how FNB, you working in the risk space, approach dealing with the risks associated with AI. But it sounds to me, and often what we see in the tech space is small teams within big organizations get created to experiment with technologies and see where it takes them, etc. It almost seems to me that you're suggesting that may be a risky approach if it's not combined with a well thought out strategy initially. That you perhaps don't want to have 5 or 6 of your employees working on AI tools and plugging into customer data and all of this stuff, because it could end up blowing up in your face.
Exactly. So there's a risk-reward matrix that we follow. Different applications come with different types of risks. We have low risk but high volume type of work that we see as opportunities where AI will help create efficiency and drive productivity. Having said that, we have governance and controls in place on how this should be done. We've got restrictions on where we feel there's opportunities for risk. Remember, at the end of it all, technology is built around trust. And if something was to happen, I don't know if you saw the other day, Samsung employees who were using ChatGPT.
Yes, I saw that.
You saw that. So
it leaked.
It leaked, and they're uploading confidential information. So we have to be very careful.
Especially as a bank.
As a bank. But also we must appreciate that while ChatGPT, Google Bard, and other AI tools are making waves, they are still at an experimental stage.
Yes.
They've not matured and to be embedded properly within products. And an organization shouldn't rush so much, because if something is at an experimental stage, it means that the risks it comes with are not fully explored.
Sure.
Yeah.
So tread carefully, especially if you're in a heavily regulated industry.
Exactly.
I mean, banking is very heavily regulated. Are the regulators in South Africa's financial services space, I'm thinking of the Reserve Bank and others, looking at AI at all at this stage as a potential?
Yes, there are discussions ongoing. When you look at outside South Africa, other regulators have already released governance frameworks.
Okay.
Not just around fairness and responsible use of AI, but also emerging risks that come with AI. If AI is applied in the wrong way, it could create a very, very unequal world. I think one friend of mine was comparing it and saying, would you prefer damage from AI or would you prefer a nuclear bomb? And clearly we'll prefer a nuclear bomb. You know why? You'll at least understand what's happening.
Yeah.
The damages we're seeing in AI, some of them will manifest in society for generations to come. That's why we need to be much more careful with our approaches.
Yeah, and one wonders what nation-state governments are doing in terms of weapons and defenses around AI as well. But that's probably a few years out at least before we're having those conversations. But I guess those conversations should be happening now rather than later, before this technology is developed.
Exactly.
Beyond generative AI, which is all the hype at the moment, where do you think this is going? I mean, clearly AI has caught the consumer imagination now, and the genie's not being put back in that particular bottle. And we're going to be talking about this for the rest of this decade at least. But we're going to go beyond generative AI at some point, these large language models. What are some of the other interesting AI technologies that are sort of being developed out there that perhaps the general public isn't aware of yet, that you think may have a transformative impact on business and society?
So computer vision is another massive area.
Computer vision.
Yes.
The ability of computers to see things.
To see things, yes. Identify objects.
Yeah.
And we're seeing this mature autonomous cars. But we're now seeing applications, crop up in the process of digitizing things and helping customers and service providers access programs digitally. One of the examples we have is the ability to navigate in your applications in a much more defined, customized way, which today is easily done using AI. Then we have the traditional machine learning, and I think that's where bigger value is.
Okay.
Because organizations want to understand the future much better so that you can plan. Organizations want to understand whether their strategies will succeed or not succeed. Organizations want to simulate how they can change their strategies or how the decisions they make today mean for the future. And this way they have to leverage traditional machine learning models to understand and make forecasts, make predictions based on various factors. Deep learning is an area in AI that is actually maturing, and we're seeing it influence the health sector, we're seeing it influence the agricultural sector. But when you look at it clearly, all these areas in AI are very interconnected because some of the deep learning techniques are also enabling language models and supporting machine learning models. They kind of work together, but they are pillars in AI that are actually changing every industry.
Yeah. Fascinating. And I have to ask you about the impact on jobs because the headline story you'll see is AI is coming, jobs are going. And IBM just announced in recent days that they could, I'm going to read this because they phrased it very carefully. They said they could replace 7,800 jobs at IBM with AI. Is there a jobs holocaust coming? Is IBM, in saying this, perhaps just doing a bit of marketing? What is the long-term outlook for jobs as AI becomes more integrated into business and society?
I think the issue of jobs has been topical, and partially because of a lack of understanding of how organizations are adopting technology, but also there's a bit of market correlation between how some of the organizations are laying off staff. I think I saw something like that with Google, Amazon. When this happens at the time where the same organizations are spearheading AI, it might send a wrong message. But from what I think, especially with the adoption of AI, organizations need more people than ever. But it needs to prepare more people for a future where there will be human-machine partnerships.
Right.
They need to upskill them for long term, not upskill them for a shorter future that another machine will come and...
companies are going to think that way.
Yes, so think long term.
Sure.
But also organizations have to think disruptive. Think about opportunities they never did before. Think about partnerships, intercompany partnerships, so that technology can help them explore opportunities they never did before with the help of people. Yes.
Exciting times ahead. I'm not going to ask you to put on your prognostication hat and look forward to 2030 because it's impossible. This world is moving far too quickly at the moment. But lots of exciting things happening in AI, and I really look forward to seeing how FNB continues to integrate a lot of these technologies and strategies into what it's doing, and is certainly one of the pioneers in AI in the South African market. So it's really been fascinating chatting to you. Dr. Mark Nasila is Chief Data and Analytics Officer at FNB Risk. Thank you for joining us on TechCentral.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.